It's Monday, and I'd like to welcome you back to the Joust About Careers podcast, where you can learn about careers from the people who are actually in the trenches every day. I'm your host, Brian Brott, and I want to see all people make good career and life decisions. My guest today is Abbey Phillips, a digital graphic designer for Designer Shoe Warehouse, or DSW. Abbey shares about her life as a graphic designer, how she changed her career goals after her freshman year at Ohio University, how an internship she completed after college set her up to earn an opportunity with DSW, what skills are essential to becoming a graphic designer, and much more. I hope that what Abbey shares today will help all of you make better career decisions and have fulfilling career journeys. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Joust About Careers podcast. And today we have 2015 Van Buren graduate Abbey Phillips with us. And she's going to be talking about her career as a digital graphic designer for Designer Shoe Warehouse. So looking forward to hearing what she has to say about her career. And Abbey, thank you very, very much for joining us. And I'd love to just hear about what do you do as a graphic designer at DSW? And what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me. I was really excited to get the invite. I think when I was 16, 17, 18 in high school, I would have loved to have this series available for me. So, because I really didn't quite know back then what it was exactly I wanted to do. But yeah, so I'm currently in my third year here at DSW. So it's my first job directly out of college. And as a digital designer, when I first came in, there was about 9 of us that worked multi-channel. So that includes site, social, print, and email. So I was a designer that was working on primarily site and email. So basically, if you were to go to the .com or DSW.com any day of the week, there was a good chance I designed what the homepage looked like for that day. Or what I still work on now is email. So if you were to get an email in your inbox, there's a good chance that I probably designed a large part of it, if not all of it. So that's really cool to think about, that you have thousands and thousands of eyes looking at what you do on a day-to-day basis, and the creative that you're producing is really viewed by a large population.
Right.
But over time, over the course of the 3 years, we've become more siloed, so more focused on one channel versus the 4 channels. So my job has changed a little bit over the 3 years that I've been here. So I'm now primarily email with a little bit of print. So now there's 4 of us now that are on the email and print team. So 25% chance now that I have created the email that you see in your inbox. But we're a very tight-knit group, and I think that allows us the opportunities to kind of get creative with our job. Some days it's very, very, very simple, very monotonous. Other days it is very creative, and the business wants to try something new, or the team wants to try something new. So a large part of it is designing emails daily. But then there's also more fun things that go on in terms of concepting. So we have our one whole season lasts about 3 months. So we're typically changing our concept every 3 months. I believe there's 6 seasons in our retail year or fiscal year. So that includes photography, designing a brand new concept that the customers will see, and adapting a library, a template. Kind of just how we're showing up every season is kind of one of the new things. I guess not new things, but something that's becoming a larger part of my day-to-day.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, obviously you're dealing with shoes, and are you determining kind of what the styles are for the next season, or there are other people that determine that, and then they come to you and say, okay, now you need to convey this to our customers?
More so the latter. So we have an entire, there's a merchandising department. So we have our marketing department and our merchandising department, but there's kind of a liaison between the both of them, who we call product and brand marketing. So they're really coming up with the stories. For example, like colorful sandals under 50. That's the story that they're creating. But it's my job to kind of design into the story that would best kind of allow the customer, like what appeals to the customer the most? What imagery do we have that makes you want to buy colorful sandals under 50, for example?
Always my priority.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
is a lot of your day spent on a computer, or is it like you said, there's some days that you have the monotony? Are those the computer days, or those the meeting days? How much of each of those do you spend time on typically?
Yeah. Every day is on a computer. Every day, and it's a good thing and a bad thing for sure. But since COVID, we're all virtual now. And so that's kind of allowed me some flexibility. But in terms of the monotony, I would say on a typical day, I'm probably in 3 to 4 meetings that are probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes long, on top of 6 hours of work. So we're on a task, like a daily task. So for example, I might have a project that runs, I'm currently working on emails that are going to go live for March 24th. So I started that job, I think, on Tuesday. So we kind of work on I would say 9 to 12 day time frame, but there are certain smaller tasks that are involved in this one larger project that I work on a daily basis. So I'm probably touching the same email every day for 7 to 9 days until it goes live and you were to see it in your inbox. So that can be monotonous in terms of how quickly I'm moving, and intermixed with all the meetings that are going on, because there's constantly higher level meetings, constantly concepting going on, big initiatives that we're adding in. So yeah, there's a lot of monotony, but it's fun monotony for sure. It's you're constantly getting to be creative. So I think that's, you have to give a little to get a lot. For sure.
Right. And you always know there's something new that's going to be coming.
Yes.
It's not always going to be the same thing. So
Yeah.
thinking back to when you were in high school, obviously I knew you were in yearbook.
Yes.
Were you in art classes in high school?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in art for 4 years and yearbook for 2. And then my senior year, I believe it was Mr. Daniels had like a mixed media course, which was photography, graphic design, and I believe maybe wood shop, if I'm correct. But those were the 3 classes where I think that I definitely found what it kind of is what I wanted to do, but that changed when I got to college a little bit, for sure.
So yeah, when you went to Ohio University, did you plan to major in graphic design, or did that happen once you arrived?
That happened once I arrived. I declared going into at OU, I declared my major as fashion merchandising. So in high school, I was into something totally different, and I kind of had an interest in graphic design, but didn't really picture a career for myself until I was in my sophomore year at OU. And it wasn't until that I really was like, I don't know if I'm so passionate about the fashion world, or like the buying part of fashion. I'm more so interested in the magazines, the publication, the signage, everything that you see in store, the mailer you would get to your address, a Vogue you would pick up down at your local bookstore. I was more interested in seeing that come to life than helping buying product for a specific brand. So it changed a lot.
Right. And and again, I think you, as you were heading out of high school, in your mind, did you think merchandising, you were going to be designing the clothes and all of that, but it didn't really end up being that. No. Okay.
Yeah. In OU, so I knew what I wanted out of a university, and I would have gone to school for fashion design. That was like what I wanted to do. I had the dream of living in New York City, the whole 9. But I loved OU, and OU didn't have that specific program. They had like a fashion merchandising and product development. So more so like the buying side, textiles, things like that, not necessarily sketching and all of that. So I kind of changed my outlook on all of that for OU, and also like kind of the success of fashion merchandising versus like the success of fashion design. You have to really, really, really work hard in fashion design to even get noticed. And fashion merchandising kind of had a little bit more of a successful future in my eyes. But then I found out that I wasn't so passionate about it in college until my sophomore year. And then in my sophomore year, I found publication design, which is what the degree I graduated with.
Okay. And still though, you're still in fashion,
Yeah.
just in a
Yeah.
different way that you didn't expect to be in it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about your degree, if someone is currently a high schooler and thinking, wow, this sounds really cool, I might go into graphic design. Is a college degree absolutely a necessity? Is it, maybe not if that person can show a portfolio?
Mhm.
What are the expectations for someone who's trying to get into this field?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely, I've had this conversation before. I found for me that I wanted to be in like in a retail based company. I really wanted to be a graphic designer at a corporate place, a corporate retailer, I mean. Um, and so I found my college education to be very valuable in terms of in high school, for example, we didn't, not to my knowledge, had a class that was so focused on like InDesign and Photoshop and that Adobe suite that I learned in college. Like, I don't think that I probably would have had the skill set um, without my degree to be where I am today. But that doesn't go to say that you can't can't take classes to gain certificates to help you further that career path.
Right.
For sure. Like, I think I probably would have had I been so passionate about graphic design in high school, I probably would have opened myself up more to opportunities before college, for
Right.
example.
Right. But again, some education beyond high school
Yeah.
is probably going
Yes.
to be essential. It's just how does the person want to go about getting that?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And I think too, in college, my degree was in publication design, so it was more print focused, but in my classes, I learned so much more about photography, how to like lighting, operation, just everything that you don't really think about as a graphic designer. There's so many more aspects to it. Like, I'm working with images on a daily basis, but that doesn't mean I'm a photographer by any means. It just means I'm trying to use them to the best of their ability.
Right.
So it's something you learned in my classes at college, for sure.
Now, obviously, you use Adobe a lot. Are there any
Yes.
other platforms? We have students using Canva quite a bit,
Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
things. I mean, is that something that's used at the professional level, or is that more something that individuals use or students use?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I think I really like about Canva is you don't have to have a subscription, to my knowledge. And so that makes it really attainable for if for example, I wasn't a graphic designer, I wanted to create something, I could use Canva to do that. Adobe is expensive, and it's I don't pay for it myself. DSW supplies that to the designers. Um, but I would say from a more at the point of where these students are at, Canva is great. I think it allows them to kind of use similar tools that Adobe has in place. And once you get into InDesign, Photoshop, things like that, you're kind of have your foundation down that you can kind of dive in a little bit deeper to the tools that Adobe supplies for you. We do not use Canva. I think InDesign allows us to have kind of a blank slate, whereas Canva, I know that you can pull templates and images and things like that. And I think it kind of creates a little bit more noise for us. And we're pulling such specific things and have a specific template that we have to use with a header and a footer that I don't know if Canva would be enough equipped for what we're doing on a daily basis.
Right. But it's a good starting point, like you
Oh,
said.
yeah.
Students could get it for free, play around
Yeah.
in it, start to explore some of those skills.
Yes, for sure.
You talked about working on websites a little bit. Did you have to
Mhm.
learn any coding for that? Or is that more you create the design and then the coders make it into the web page?
Great question. When I saw the job description for this position, it said digital designer, and I freaked out because I saw in the job description of coding, and I was like, oh, that was definitely not in my curriculum at OU, and because I was more print based, but there was an avenue for UX UI design, which is coding. But when I got here, I was open about like my experience in coding, and they said that's not necessary. Like, we have a specific UX UI team who deals with the functionality of our website. So how to get from this tab to this tab, where does it lead you, drop down product, everything like that. Our creative team, for example, will supply the images, the certain lockups. If we're running like a clearance event and we have a certain percentage lockup or how it's supposed to look, that might be a static image on the site. It might not always be live copy. And so we're supplying those types of things. Mm-hmm. I no longer work on that side of the creative team. And so it has evolved since I have been over there, but it is definitely not coding, at least at DSW.
Okay. So yeah, not an absolute necessity to know that to go into this field.
Nope.
Okay, good. So any personality characteristics that you think maybe someone who wants to go into graphic design or digital graphic design might be especially useful for someone going into that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a little bit creative helps. But I would say that the best characteristic trait that helped me was communicating and being able to almost over communicate. I know we're always preached to no question's a dumb question, but sometimes when you're just starting out, you think, okay, this is a dumb question. But there's probably somebody else out there, just like we were always told, that someone probably has the same exact question. And over communicating deadlines, making sure you're gaining the correct clarity on a job, I think has only helped me succeed here. It's made my job a lot easier. It's made my job a lot more efficient. So I would say the communication skill, but I also think being a problem solver and like working efficiently is helped me a lot too. I was not a problem solver in high school and college. I will absolutely admit to that. And it took a lot of time to kind of create, to think critically and think like, what's the issue at hand and how do I create a solve for that? That's something that I've definitely learned over time. And it's not something by any means that you have to have in order to have this job or get this job. It just is something you'll develop over time that's helped me further my career here.
Right. So we're really encouraging students to get experiences, whether that's shadow days, we have an internship program. So I saw that you did an internship down in Hilton Head, South Carolina, which sounds like a great place to do an internship. Yeah. You worked at the Post as the art director. Now, was that like a campus publication at OU?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So that was the campus newspaper.
Okay. So thinking about those experiences that you have that have helped you get to where you are, I guess maybe talk about the advice you would have for people, encouraging them to go get experience and the value of that.
Yeah, I definitely had a tough time landing internships because it is such a competitive field. So I was lucky. I didn't get into my degree that I graduated with until second semester of my sophomore year. So I really was limiting my time, kind of gaining experience in those first 2 years of college that I was trying to still graduate within the 4 years. And so my junior and senior year was when I really dived deep into those core classes. And so I was searching for an internship between my junior and senior year, but in hindsight, I don't really feel like I had the portfolio to support myself in order to separate myself from other applicants. And so I was lucky enough that I took on, I became involved in the Post, so that student publication, and that honestly counted as an internship for me. So I needed, like, I believe, I don't want to quote it, but I needed an internship in order to graduate, and that fulfilled that requirement. So that was my requirement to graduate, or that's the internship I used. But I took a good hard look at myself after I graduated and thought that I would like a little bit more experience before I apply into careers or apply for careers after I graduated. So I applied for this internship in Hilton Head where it was called Local Life Magazine, and it was a publication, and it was the real deal and things like that. And I was designing spreads for their magazine, and that was great experience. It really helped me understand the ins and outs of specifically designing for a publication and how ad based they are. And like, you might have 75% of that magazine might be just ads. And then you have actual content because the ads are what pay for the magazine. And so that really helped me understand that I'm not sure if I wanted publication anymore. But I found those internships to be very helpful for me in terms of specifically the art director role at the Post, of leading a little bit of a team only at the college level and understanding what it's like to delegate and what you kind of have to do to get the job done. At Local Life, I think that helped me realize that I'm not sure I wanted a future in that type of publication. I would still dream about being a designer for Vogue or something like that. That's
Right.
still a pipe dream. But I don't think I wanted something so small. Especially Hilton Head is beautiful and it's warm and it's great, but I don't think I was made for the South either. And so that was helpful for me to realize, like, I don't really think I want to move away from home. I don't really know if I want to live in the South. So there's a lot of different things that these internships allowed me to get to know more about myself and kind of helped me understand what I wanted for my future.
Right.
For sure.
Right. Yeah, that experience is just, I mean, it's one thing to sit in a classroom. It's another thing to actually go do it.
Right.
And that's really where the learning takes place. So that's awesome to hear. So DSW, obviously a pretty well-known store. And that's really cool that you are the one creating the emails and things like that. Is it tough to get a foot in the door in those businesses like that? For a student who's, just coming out of college or, thinking of starting college and thinking about, am I going to be able to get a job? Are those jobs going to be out there in, 4, 6, 8 years? Is this something that maybe is slowing down? Do you have any insights into that?
Yeah, I think in terms of internships with companies like these, it's definitely that little fish in a big pond type of mentality. Not necessarily, like, you have smaller teams, for example, where like my team is only like 20-ish people. So you definitely have that more one-on-one type of conversation happening. But our marketing department, for example, is 100 people. So, which still I think is relatively small, given that our company is a very large retailer.
Right.
But in terms of these internships, I have heard so many stories about if you were to land an internship here, your door, like the possibilities like of a full-time offer to stay on after your internship are so high. We have a designer who actually helped me get my job here. She was an intern and she's been here for 7 years now. And so once you get your foot in the door there, once you get your foot in the door at a company like this, I think it only helps you to be able to go work at another retailer, or if that's the avenue you want to go down.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people know this, but Columbus is a huge hub for retail, like for national retailers. We have L Brands, Abercrombie, Big Lots, Zulily, DSW, Express. There's so many different retailers, and having your foot in the door at one retailer allows you to have a potential opportunity at another retailer for sure. Because when you're looking at applying to other jobs, or if you have an internship at a retailer, that is something that a job posting will include as like prior retail experience. So it's really important that I think if you want to go into the retail world, definitely try it, and it will only help you out if you want to continue in the retail world for sure.
As you look at your life now and what you've learned in your career about life itself, what is it that you now know that you wish you had known when you were in high school?
I will be the first to admit, when I was a sophomore on Shadow Day, I had no clue what it was I wanted to do. I remember shadowing my aunt in a lab up in a Toledo hospital working with blood work, and I knew that was not exactly what it was I wanted to do, but I definitely needed to complete the fulfillment and that requirement. And so I think I took my junior and senior year of trying to really think about what it was I wanted to do. Knew I wanted to do something fashion related. Still wasn't sure what I wanted to do though when I went into college. I thought I clinged onto this idea of fashion merchandising, but then it wasn't until my second year that I really nailed it down. So I think that it's okay if you're 16, 17, however old you are, there is still time to figure it out, what exactly it is you want to do. And you might have a relative idea of the area you might want to go into. Like, for example, graphic design has so many different avenues that you can go down in terms of working for a marketing firm where you have a project that might span over the course of 3 months, or you could work in retail, or heck, doctors' offices are also hiring like different graphic designers to up their marketing. It's just everybody is looking for a graphic designer, it seems like, because people are trying to improve their marketing. And so if you want to go into graphic design, you don't have to know what exactly avenue or what branch of graphic design it is you want to go into. And so I think that is something that helped me too, of like, I was able to study different things my first year as a college and then really understand that, okay, yeah, I want to be a graphic designer for a retailer, and like, that's what I want to do. And so I think it's okay if you don't know,
Right.
and it will work out. Trust me,
Right,
it will.
right. Well, and yeah, I think that's I try to stress that with students, that it's okay to not have it figured out. I'd be more concerned if you think you haven't figured out, because then
Right.
you're probably going to miss opportunities because you are so focused on one thing. So, Abby, I really appreciate you sharing all of
Yeah.
this. Very, very insightful. And I hope that maybe some people will reach out to you, some questions,
Yeah.
and want to learn more. So good luck as you continue down your career path. And thank you for sharing everything that you've shared.
Yeah. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Joust About Careers podcast. I hope you learned valuable information from this career story, and to be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for watching, and as always, this is the place to go to learn just about careers.